This is Dave Thomas, the writer of number 78, The Caretaker, and you're listening to The Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
This week we dig up some of Aaron's dirty little secrets. On this episode of The Blacklist Exposed, I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson, and like Samara, being a bitch comes naturally to me.
Yes, it does.
Shut your whore mouth. Thanks for joining us this week as we discuss number 78 on the Blacklist, The Caretaker, which aired February 25th, 2016, was written by the Dave Thomas and directed by Don Thoren Jr. Why do we say the Dave Thomas? Because he also wrote Sir Crispin Crandall, if you remember that. And he's also Doug McKenzie, one of the founders of SCTV, and has been writing quality entertainment for decades. I'm a big fan of Dave Thomas, so.
Yes, we are.
Whoop, whoop. I said me. I wasn't talking about you. This is me.
I thought this was our show.
Well, it depends on your day, apparently. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com. Once again, I'm out of breath.
We asked you last week to answer our profiling question of the week, which was, how do you interpret the painting? And we got some really great responses.
Yeah, first up, Mona. Mona, what is in Liz's hand? A rabbit? What?
A dead one, maybe.
Yeah, a dead rabbit. I don't think her hand has blood on it. Okay. But everything is splattered, meaning things will be or are messy. Does the extra messiness of the right arm have something to do with the fire and her scar? Number 2, it doesn't have the first name of the Reddington on the marker. Maybe it's not Raymond, his brother, his wife. It has a Russian, though not Orthodox style marker. Did the person die in Russia, or was the person of Russian nationality, such as his wife or Katerina? Now, that's a good point, because you were very stout that it's a Russian marker in that the stone. And there's some debate about that. I have no idea, honestly, because I'm not an authority in grave markers.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I thought it was an Orthodox one. I know that the Orthodox Russian cross has like multiple crossbars on it. I think 3 in total, with one is actually kind of slanted, where the feet of Jesus would have been. I thought it was the top part of the Russian Orthodox cross only because of the way the T-bar crossed where the cross was and wasn't proportional like you would see on a Christian cross or a Roman Catholic cross. And then typically there's also like a Celtic cross, which has more of a clover, flowery design on the end of it. And it also has a circle that goes around the cross itself, like a halo. That's why I figured it was Russian, because it just didn't seem it wasn't Celtic at all. And it definitely wasn't Christian based on the dimensions. So I kind of left more with the Russian Orthodox type style because of the top part of it only, not the full cross itself. Dondi then wrote in and said,
well, hang on. I want to address that.
Sorry.
In terms of that Russian marker thing, I have no idea. You know what? I didn't even think about it. I just went with it because I just assumed Troy was right. I should have known better that you're not so smart. But I just look at it like a cross, man. I really didn't give it that much thought. It looked like somebody's dead. That's what it looked like to me. Maybe I need to think deeper.
Don't think too deep. You might be in the grave with them.
Hashtag dad jokes.
Dondi said, Mama Rostova says, stop looking, Reddington, because if you don't, it's
curtain, see? Wise guy? Yeah. I don't know if I really did that very well. It's just something I wanted to do. I've got a couple more, and then we'll get on to the new episode. But Anne says, what is the painting? Is a warning from Katerina to Red that Liz is dangerous and might ruin or take his life. Assuming Katerina is alive, consider 1. Liz killed her father, Katerina's love. 2. Liz is responsible for Katerina having a mental breakdown and walking into the ocean. And apparently coming out a man, according to Troy.
You know it.
Number 3, yeah, because they have those kind of surgeries in the ocean. Number 3.
It's those jellyfish and the blowfish liver helped you out.
Aquaman is a surgeon. Number 3, if you're rescued from the ocean naked, having tried to commit suicide, you'll spend at least a few days in a psych ward. Probably a little longer, I would guess. Number 4.
Especially with surgery.
Number 4. I want to punch you in the face. Number 4, leading us to the painting of a dead Reddington with Liz standing above the grave with blood on her hands. A pretty common artistic device for placing blame. That's true. I do agree with that.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people are on both sides of the coin. They're saying, is it because Liz killed Reddington because of Reddington lying to her this whole time? Or is it Liz mourning Reddington, if you do believe that Reddington is Reddington and it's Reddington in the ground versus like our first
imposter
said,
theory.
like Mona said, is it a brother, is it uncle, or is it, a different Reddington in the family versus the Raymond Reddington himself in the grave.
I guess it could be that, but you know what? Sometimes I think we really overthink things. This might be one of those things we're really overthinking. It looked pretty cut and dry to me, but you guys don't agree.
Well, Tessa wrote in, and she said, I see the cross resembling a Russian Orthodox cross, so I wasn't the only one that was thinking it was Russian Orthodox. With the name Reddington, a heart in a wreath. Liz standing with her hand extended. Her hand and arm seem to be melting, as are her feet. She seems to be melting in the fire. To the left, I actually see a claw-like hand or skeletal hand, a figure that resembles the man in the snow below, and a figure by the grave. I think the painting symbolized what happened the night of the fire. The painting is a threat to both Red and Liz. Liz will finish what she started 27 years ago, the night of the fire, and kill Reddington. So I guess that means she assumes that the guy that she shot was Reddington and not her dad. And since that is Liz's whole purpose in life, she will melt. I think Katerina did not love Liz at all and had trained her to kill Reddington from the start.
Interesting. And the background is red. It could just mean, red.
Right.
Like Red
Color.
Reddington. It really could just mean that. Geraldine, this is the last one. I think the painting is telling us Red is the Russian. And in fact, the dad of Liz. Katerina fell in love with an American man and Red killed him. I recall when Liz was hypnotized, a woman told her that the people you recall may be real, but in very different roles. That's a good point. The recent show where Red was called an imposter, though well explained, may have been written just to open the idea. His love for Liz is very real, yes. He said, I will not lie to you. He also said, of course, I lie. I'm a criminal. And he said, Liz, I will never tell you everything. His love for Sam is real, and he said, I regret not raising you myself. Katerina commissioned the painting. Is Mr. Kaplan Katerina? Oh, interesting. Kate, Red called her his better half. She thanked him, dearie, for everything.
That's a good point. Kate, Katerina, could be.
Yeah, I guess it could. Sure.
Yeah.
I think he knows what Katerina looks like, though.
Yeah, and Kaplan isn't a blonde, and we were told that, Liz looks like her mom and that she was blonde. And
well, I mean, they have hair dye now. It happens all the time, so I think Liz did it about 3 times this year, so I'm pretty sure they could dye the hair.
it all comes back to Liz's hair. Oh, my
I mean, it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous mane, really, when you think about it.
It is. It is. Mm-hmm. So this week's profiling question, because we got a lot of time to ponder this one.
Mm-hmm. Will Liz and Tom actually get married? Is it going to be, as NBC alluded to, a red wedding? What's going to happen?
I can't believe they used that hashtag.
What's that?
I can't believe they used that hashtag.
I actually think it's brilliant, but only Game of Thrones fans are really going to understand it. But that's good. I like it.
Oh, good Lord.
Oof. All right, I'm looking forward. Now let's talk about this episode.
Yes. Now, much like Tom, I also like margarita shaken, not stirred. So let's shake things up this week with the case profile.
Okay, before we get into the caretaker, I do want to ask, because we're taking a 6-week break?
Four,
6, I can't count anymore. Yeah. And we've got a episode that we're going to drop. Are you usually going to do that blab?
Yes, we do
episode?
Have the Dembe conversation with Hisham Tuf Week. We'll release that audio for the podcast feed probably either next week after. So make sure you stay subscribed in iTunes and to the feed, goldenspiralmedia.com or theblacklisexposed.com. Just subscribe and you'll be able to grab that when it comes out.
Yeah, and Dembe himself is on that, as well as John Bokenkamp popped in for a little bit.
Yep.
So it's a good conversation. Hope you guys enjoy that. But this episode, The Caretaker, before we get into the details, what did you think overall of The Caretaker?
First watch, I was kind of disappointed a little bit because I knew the break was coming. I didn't know how long the break was going to be, and then I was really like, oh my gosh, because of there was just no cliffhanger, nothing to keep me wanting to come back for, when this long break was over. After watching the second time, I really actually loved the writing transitions that Dave Thomas did in this. There was just scenes like, there was one where he was talking about how can we find this person, and then it switched to Red and Liz in the restaurant, and Red's like, I know somebody. So it was like the conversation continued into the next scene, and I thought that was really, really brilliant how they did that. So from that perspective, I kind of enjoyed the writing aspect of the show. And then as you watch it a second time, so much symbolism into the A story. So even though you say this particular Blacklister didn't have anything to do with the overall arc of the show, It actually does if you start to read some of the subtext that they're trying to throw at you.
I love the episode. I loved it through and through. I've watched it twice. I loved it both times. It's just one of those. I don't know why. I just enjoyed it. I thought it had just enough Blacklist story time. It had enough of a twist. I really liked the twist at the end with the daughter. I thought that was really clever. I like some of the symbolism. I like some of the character depth we got. I like some of the ridiculousness that came about. Overall, it was a great episode for me. I had a blast. I had 2 nitpicks. One of them is the one I always nitpick. It's just Liz and Tom. I just don't, the whole, we're happy, we're going to get a baby, we're going to get married, blah. Shut up. Outside of that, I love the episode. So I'm really hoping for a red wedding. Okay. We begin with Russell Pritchard in Beijing, finding out his secrets have been released, and now he's been snatched up by the Chinese.
I want to clarify this because I want to ask you. Because the first time I watched it, they said he was found dead in Beijing. But when the second time I watched it, it clearly looks like he's on like the streets of New York or something, or D.C.
Well, they shoot it in New York, man. I mean,
but everybody around him was like American.
No, that's not true.
Was he kidnapped by Chinese people in America and then taken back to Beijing and killed in Beijing?
No, it says Beijing when it opens, and it does. They are all Asian people. I didn't see any American because I looked at that. I kept an eye on that. So I think you're mistaken.
Okay, am I mistaken on the second? Because I thought it was Beijing at first because I saw the thing open, and then I kept looking and I was like, man, it doesn't look like Beijing at all when he's doing like close-up shots of him walking down the street.
The only white devil was Pritchard.
All right.
That's it.
All right.
Everybody else looked Asian to me. So not that it matters. I mean, it's TV, man. They can't afford to go to Beijing for 30 seconds scene. I can't imagine NBC wants to pay for that.
No.
So, they shoot it in New York, but it was supposed to be Beijing. So he turns up dead. He's done because the secrets were released. The caretaker apparently is the one who takes care of those secrets for governments, captains of industry, powerful people.
Let's be specific. He started that conversation of I've protected the secrets of presidents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you go with presidents as the first name that you kind of throw out there when you're in that interrogation room with?
To show how many powerful secrets he really holds. Okay. I mean, what is more powerful than the most powerful man in the world?
True.
So he holds these secrets until a directive that he is given is met. And that can be various things. It can be, this happens, we need this secret release because it's basically going to expose the truth and that sort of thing. Apparently, he's releasing these secrets randomly now, so our task force is on the case to stop him and contain the leaks. I really like this idea that what he does is he takes the secrets and he buries them in a cemetery, like in a corpse.
Yeah, he doesn't just bury them in the ground. He buries them in the person in the ground.
I love that. I thought that was, it's kind of creepy, but it's also kind of cool because it's a good idea. If you're going to keep a secret, I mean, it's better than a vault. Nobody's going to think to look in, grandma. So, yeah, I like that idea. I thought that was pretty clever.
I have to throw this out there then because they specifically show him go down into, was it Jeanette, yeah, her grave. And then he's like got this cutter and cutting her chest cavity open. And I'm like, okay, first of all, if you put the canister in there in the first place, how did you get it in there? And wouldn't there be a much simpler scar to open it back up to get it back out again?
Say that again?
So, like, the canister's in this person, right? In the corpse, right? So
this is only a Troy nitpick because nobody else cares about this. But sure, go ahead. Humorous.
He's like knifing through the chest cavity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wouldn't there already be a stitch or a scar that was stitched back up, and he just has to, take a scissors and snip the thread and open it back up again to get it out? It seemed like he had to do a lot of effort to open up this corpse to get the canister out. And then I was like, well, then how the hell did the canister get in there in the first place?
You really don't understand how things work when you're like in the ground for a long time, right?
I know how it works when they're in the ground. That's what I'm saying. Shouldn't it be easier to just say, hey, Jeannie, open up her chest and just grab it?
This is the point where I'm going to say, shut up, Troy. Nobody cares. This is a dumb point.
That was my nitpick. I was like, I
respect your point of view, blah, 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 but I don't understand this one.
Why does he have to work so hard to get the canister out? He should just be able to just go, stick his hand in there and pull it right out.
Why do you have to work so hard to care? Who cares?
Just saying.
It's a cool scene. Don't ruin it. Go with it, man. Let it flow.
Fine.
It's so funny.
Let it flow. Let
All
it
right.
flow.
Well, did you really turn it into a Frozen song?
That'd be cold working out there in the snow, too, because it was snowing.
Oh, stop it. Apparently, we find out there's a pneumatic tube system under the city that was built decades ago and now is being used to distribute secrets and drugs. And that's how things apparently get to the caretaker. And I want to point out, what's that?
That was awesome. I was like geeking out. I was like, that's pretty cool. I have to admit.
The cool part is this was, in fact, a system that was designed for New York, and the operators were actually called Rocketeers. And so that it's a true thing. I mean, that is a historical thing. I looked it up. It's on Wikipedia, so it's got to be true.
Look at you dropping the knowledge today.
Well, I mean, really, it's not like I did a lot of reading. Google, was there a pneumatic tube system in New York? Turns out Wikipedia says yes.
Well, because Wikipedia is so true with everything.
You know what? They had pictures. It has to be true. Shut up. That's twice I've told you to shut up in one episode. Somebody's going to write a letter. I'm just letting you know. I'm like, Aaron, why you got to be so negative to poor Troy? Don't ever feel sorry for him. I swear, don't ever do it. Red uses Hugo, who's a new wacky informant, to find out what's going on. Apparently, he's really involved with this pneumatic tube system. And I want to go back to that. I think this is a really cool, insightful thing, a tool to use. And I think we could use this again if we really wanted to. This pneumatic tube system, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you can use Hugo, too, in different ways, possibly as well.
Oh, man, he looked like he just stepped out of a Coen Brother movie. I mean, he was just so wacky and out there, and I'm like, how did Reddit even come to meet this guy? Did you like Hugo as a character? Do you want to see him again?
Oh, absolutely, I do. The thing that was kind of disappointing was that Red built it up. When he turns around, he's like, oh, and don't stare. And then you go in, and it's like, well, he's not really that creepy looking. I mean, he's got like a little red circle thing going on his eyes from the goggles, but he didn't seem that...
If he okay, let's hypothetically.
It wasn't like Sloth from the Goonies or something.
Your daughter's 18, 20 years old, whatever. She grows up, and she comes home with a guy looking like Hugo. You might freak out a little bit. You might worry about her future. So that's enough for me to go, it gives me pause. It gives me a little hesitation.
Yeah, but when you say, like, don't stare, you assume he's got, like, some massive deformity or, one hand missing or a claw or something. You just
no, you assume that.
He just looked fairly normal. Just looked like he lived underground his whole life.
I think he looks like you, and that's why you're defending him. You're just like, because he does kind of look like Troy. Troy looks that weird.
He's my brother.
And by the way, Sloth is a beautiful person.
He
Don't
is.
ever compare anybody to Sloth again.
Sloth loved junk.
Hey, you guys. Also looks like Natalie Dormer. Yeah, I said it. All right, turns out the caretaker is Freddy from House of Cards. Reg Cathy. Do you ever watch House of Cards?
I have not yet watched House of Cards, if you can believe it.
I love his role as Freddy. Freddy was basically the guy who makes ribs and stuff when Frank Underwood would come over and they'd have little conversations. And it was just like the only person that Frank Underwood would be himself with, it seemed. And it just a really cool, relaxed, kickback character. And he's got one of those voices. It's almost like a Morgan Freeman effect.
Oh, yeah. I totally loved his voice. I was like, man, how can we get him on the podcast? Because that would just be awesome.
I would just want to hear him narrate my GPS. That's what I want. His daughter, it turns out his daughter's been kidnapped, and the kidnappers are demanding he releases certain secrets. Of course, Cooper goes against Red's instructions. Red was very clear. Don't do it. And they wanted to save Rose, so they release a secret to save the caretaker's daughter, which automatically triggers a terrorist attack. Bad Cooper. What did you think about them actually ignoring Red's advice and doing it? Do you think that was a good plan at all to begin with?
I mean, you have to do what you have to do. In this case, you're thinking, it's not such a big deal. Germans are going to get burned. You have no intel on these terrorists coming into the country at the time. So if you had intel on the terrorists coming into the country, then you might have pause and maybe consider it differently. But again, they didn't know what they didn't know, right? They thought that Rose was indeed kidnapped, and you have this entire secret network that's going to be released. So you have to do what you have to do to get that ledger back, too, because anything could happen. It could be more detrimental than a one terrorist attack.
Yeah, man, I was really torn on this, and I still am. It's like, I think, and because Cooper says specifically that he did it to save the young woman, Rose. And for me, if that's the reason you did it, that's not a good enough reason. I'm sorry. The potential for retaliation in a terrorist attack outweighs the lives of one. Lives of the many outweigh the needs of the one.
But at the time, it was just shame from the government. Maybe the government says, we're not going to trade our corn and soybean with you or whatever. There was no terrorist plot. At the time, he made the decision to release the information. He just figured it would be like, we have to do some political makeup work, make up sex with Germany if you want.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's a good point. I mean, he didn't really have intel that it was going to lead to a terrorist attack.
And the terrorists, so correct me if I'm wrong, the Germans were tracking these terrorists.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
I
I just assume that you're probably wrong.
The Germans were tracking these terrorists. The terrorists themselves were not Germans. When we don't know which country or affiliation or whatever the terrorists themselves were actually from, correct?
I don't think they really. I mean, if they, man, this is one somebody I'm sure knows 100%. I honestly don't know off the top of my head. I am not 100%, and I don't want to take a stab at it and just guess. So I don't know. Do you want to pause and find out?
No, just watching it again, I knew the Germans were tracking them. I just didn't know because they said that Red's friends were Mexicans that could find the truck. But then the Germans were tracking them, but they never said what country affiliation the terrorists themselves were from.
I believe they were Germans retaliating. That's the way I understood it.
Okay.
Am I wrong? I could easily be wrong. Hey, you guys listen, you know off the top of your head, so I don't remember. I believe he said that the Germans were the ones retaliating. The attack is stopped thanks to Red and the team, but we get the real story behind the caretaker, and I love this twist. Love this, and we'll get to the whole bomb thing in a second. But I love this twist. His daughter Rose, he saw her being abused on the street as a kid. So what he did was he went up and confronted her real dad and stole her and then raised her as his own. So he kidnapped her. And it turns out that Rose's brother, who joined the Marines because of all of this, because he failed to protect her as a child, finds her, and they decided to ruin the caretaker for everything he did. Now, I literally love this twist. I thought it was a fantastic twist. What did you think?
I love the twist. I kind of saw this one coming a little bit, especially when the minute they broke into the hotel room, which had 19 on the door, by the way. Stephen King reference. So as you come into the door, you see her just sitting on the bed and she's fine, and you're like, oh, she's totally in on it. From that moment forward, it was like she's in on it. She kidnapped herself. She wants to get away from her dad for some reason. Then you find out that it's because she was kidnapped. I thought that was quite interesting. The subtext behind the scene, I think, is what's more important. And I don't know if you want to talk about that here or if you want to wait till after we talk about Red and the character section.
Knock it out, man. And yes, when they got in the hotel room, I absolutely knew that they were working in collusion, yes.
So what I saw from this scene was, and if you go back to this fire, the shooting, the memories, the characters in different places, and all of that jazz, I think what you're seeing is this Reddington, right? The caretaker is Reddington. And Reddington came into the Rostova household and didn't like the way Mr. Rostova was treating Mrs. Rostova. And because of that, Mr. Rostova ends up dead. He helps implant memories into Liz to make it think that Liz shot her dad, but really Reddington killed Mr. Rostova. And then stole and kidnapped Liz. And that's why Mrs. Rostova, Katerina Rostova, is now pissed off and is coming after Red because Red killed her husband and kidnapped her daughter.
Or Red led to Liz killing her husband.
Potentially. And
he kidnapped her. I could totally see that. I mean, that's a rational explanation, actually.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're supposed to see subtext in these blacklisters to give us the answers to the story without actually giving us the answers to the story so we can come up with our own theories based on it.
I mean, that's kind of been one of my theories for a while. That and the uncle theory are kind of mine. I don't buy into the imposter theory. I'm not saying it's not plausible. I do think it's plausible. And I don't buy into the dad theory just because I think they've done enough to say he's not her dad. But those two are definitely options that I personally consider still on the table. Now, I'm not saying every option is still on the table, so I'm not knocking whatever your theory is. I'm just saying that's what I believe.
Or you could combine the theories, and this is how you go full Heinrichs, as we like to call it.
Boy. No, as I like to call it.
You could technically...
Don't steal my words, man. So, I copyrighted that. You owe me a nickel.
I do owe you a nickel.
A wooden nickel.
So what if... And now you're making me lose my train of thought. But what...
How is that possible? You constantly say stuff.
What if you could take the roles and reverse them? So when they say... I'm not your father, that's because Red, the real Raymond Reddington, and Katerina produced Liz, biological father and mother. And what if Papa Rostova ended up killing Raymond Reddington, and Papa Rostova took the identity of Raymond Reddington as the imposter?
I don't agree with that theory. I mean, it's plausible, yes, but I don't agree with that theory. I think I don't agree with the entire imposter theory. I'm not knocking it. I totally see it as plausible theory. It's just not one I subscribe to. That's all.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a plausible idea, and yes, your scenario is absolutely possible.
And it does kind of fit with this episode, so that's why it kind of made me think of it.
It does. And so does the fact of Red being maybe obsessed with Katerina, and for some reason that leads to their house, and his family is killed, and he wants to have a family, and he's distraught, and he wants to have a family with Liz's mom, and he confronts them, and somehow Liz gets the gun and accidentally shoots her dad, and then that leads to Red taking the baby, maybe because Katerina, he thinks, kills herself. So he takes Liz to raise as his own and then realizes he can't do it, so he gives her to Sam and so on and so forth.
Right.
Yeah, so there's still so many theories in play. Man, it makes my head hurt. But I love talking about it, and we all love talking about it, or we wouldn't be listening and talking on this podcast.
That's right.
Whew. But I really love this episode. Sounds like you had some issues with it.
First time through. Second time through, I was like, I get a lot of the subtext, and I love the transitions and the kind of play on stuff. Like when...
Oh, there's some cool scene transitions.
Yeah.
Where dialogue leads to another scene, leads to another. I really like that. It was a nice twist.
When he's washing his hands in the sink the first time and you hear Rose's voice, I seriously thought in that moment that he had her kidnapped in the other room.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, there's some real clever stuff in here.
Loved it. Loved it from that perspective.
Let's go into characters. That's the Caretaker storyline, but we got a lot of stuff from characters to talk about. But first, what do we talk about first? The music.
Yep. 16 tons, great choice, of course. Anytime you're in a graveyard, the graveyard scene, the caretaker lights a fire in an oil can looking container, has a cup of coffee, makes a phone call, and said the first secret has been released and the second will follow soon. A great line, because from the get-go, you're immediately thinking, is he talking to Red? Is he talking to Katerina? Who's he talking to? Is he talking to the Cabal? And then you find out he's just talking to the kidnappers. So really way to get your juices going from the get-go. Great opening. 16 tons by the Platters. And then part 2, In My Own Way, from Ray Lamontagne. He was actually had that playing in the background when Liz confronts Red over lying about her mother's death. Harold drives by his home, which is a very interesting scene. I don't know if you had that later, but how he looks at Charlene, and then Charlene actually looks across the street at the neighbor's house. I thought that was interesting. Liz arrives at home, hugs Tom, and then Dembe and Red, of course, dig up the secrets that Red was going to give to Liz upon his death.
Ooh.
Which we've heard that before.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
We've heard it a lot of times. We are going to talk about that, definitely. Okay, so let's start with characters. Panda Baker is back. I really love Panda Baker. I'm so glad she's coming back. I'm so happy she got involved. Do you think she's going to be a more consistent player?
For the last 6 episodes, I think she will. She wouldn't be introduced in the director episode and then brought back if she isn't going to be a major factor going forward. The question is what's the over-under on which episode she dies in? Since everybody else has died, between Fowler and Revan.
And she even points that out. So, I mean, she's very, very aware that she might... That's my audible impersonation of death. And that's what she's going to do. I don't think she's going to. I think she made some comments. She definitely does not want to be one of those dead people. I think she's going to just be around. I just think she's going to be around for a while.
I just like her spunkiness.
I just like that she's a character that acknowledges some of the absurdities, and because it's TV, you got to have a lot of drama. You got to have absurdities to make dramas work anymore, especially for this length of time, 22 episodes in a season. And I just like that she acknowledges it. She acknowledges all the deaths. She realizes everybody that comes in contact with this task force bites a bullet. She doesn't want, or turns up missing as it is, and she doesn't want to be one of those people. I like that. It's a nice acknowledgement.
I love how they reference we have to go shake some trees, and this is the Reddington tree.
Dembe. He's back. Man, when he doesn't say much, he never does, but when he does, it's very important. It's very pertinent to whatever the episode is. And he keeps telling Red, you got to tell Liz. He says it, twice in this episode. 2 different scenes.
Yeah, you got to tell Liz, and then he says, if the universe wants her to find out, she'll find out.
Even gets a little snippy with Rez. Or with Rez. With Rez. With Rez. Even gets a little snippy with Red in the car, and, Red's just like, watch the road. It's road, Dembe.
I wonder how many times they had to film that scene, because I swear, James Spader's trying to hold back a chuckle. I can't believe I have to deliver this line. Watch the road, Dembe.
Probably not. Man. He seems like a very serious actor. I have a feeling that he takes it very seriously.
Just the look on his face was different than we've seen Red before, and I don't know if he was kind of irritated with Dembe or just kind of like, yeah.
I think he just doesn't like having his motives questioned. Is really what it is. He's so used to being in charge of the situation of people that when someone questions him, which it seems like he's the only person that ever really questions him that rattles him, because he really respects Dembe's point of view. And I think that bothered him, and it irritated him both at the same time. Which
is a great transition to when he's digging up the grave at the graveyard, and he's standing there. It's like, this is above and beyond, my friend.
Absolutely.
So he still respects him, obviously, even after the comment.
Well, here's it's just like when you have close friends. If you have someone that will call you on your BS, that's a better friend, in my opinion. Because a crappy friend is going to be the one that just goes with everything you say. A great friend is going to be the one that says, hey, you're being kind of a jackass. Why don't we dial it back? Why don't you do the right thing? That's what a great friend does.
I absolutely disagree with you.
What?
But I agree with you, too.
What does that even mean? What does that mean? Explain yourself.
I'm calling you out, but I'm also, still friends with you.
Oh, I see what you did there. All right. Now it's all coming together. Not necessarily funny.
I was trying to be subtle, but
together.
Apparently it didn't work.
No, I like a hammer over the head. That's what works for me. Aram? Oh, boy.
Loved it.
Let me just preface this, because I'm sure there were people that like. I acknowledge it's totally ridiculous that Aram would put the safety of the agents and innocent people in danger. I acknowledge it. That's especially just for an apology from Wrestler. That said, don't care. Love the scene. I laughed my ass off.
The one that you actually missed was probably earlier in the episode when they're talking about the initial case, and I don't know why they had Megan sitting on a stool. She seemed like she was so short compared to everybody else that was standing up. Mm-hmm. But they're talking, and Wrestler made some offhanded comment towards Navabi, and then the camera turns and you get Aram's face, and Aram just has this look like, oh, I'm going to punch you in the face if I can get my hands on you. It's like you didn't have to add that shot into the editing, and I don't know if it was intended by the director or if they threw it in editing because it was such a great look. But that look alone just set up this scene then for later and made this scene so much more awesome.
Yeah, and it was funny because I absolutely understand. You're basically, you have a bomb. It could kill someone. And you down, of course, you got the timer. Every bomb has a timer. I honestly, I don't think terrorists would actually use that kind of timer, but whatever. But you've got the time ticking down. We've all seen this moment in TV shows, movies. We know what's going to happen. And I just like that they did something a little different, because he did just call her a bitch. He's, being a bitch comes naturally to you. And, he's a gentleman. Manners matter. Manners matter. So I thought it was a great scene. I think Amir played it perfect. It was just one of those things where it's nice when you get those light moments, that, even if it's absurd sometimes. I loved it. It's going to be a favorite. It comes close to the gnome. Comes close to the gnome.
So the bomb itself, though,
mm-hmm.
Was it really that scary of a bomb? It seemed like they talked about accelerant. They said they had all of this C4, but there was nothing nuclear about it. There was nothing.
It's a bomb.
Yeah,
of course it's scary. It goes boom.
But it goes boom, but it's in this truck, and it's in the middle of an open area on a highway.
Well, you don't know how much C4 was there. How much? I mean, it could have leveled a city block or something. You don't know.
Okay.
Don't ask these. Man, you are nitpicky today.
I am.
What is up? Are you tired?
I am.
You need a hug?
Little punchy.
You are. God, I would. Seriously, if we were dating, you might get a slap over this.
I mean, I guess the anticipation of the timing countdown for me is only scary when it's something that's truly going to level an entire block, or it's nuclear, or if it's just a bomb, just let it explode in the middle of the countryside. Who cares, right? It's just a crater later on.
Yeah, I'm glad you're not in charge of the government, really. I mean, stay far, far away from our government. I don't want any bombs going off anywhere if they can help it. That's what I think. That's absolutely what I think. I don't know how much was there. I assume maybe it's a truck full of C4. You ever think of that?
Well, yeah, if the truck is full of C4 and it's in the middle of a city where it's next to a building and a couple of buildings are going to be taken out, different story, different anticipation. This was literally in the middle of an open highway, and the counting down just didn't seem like it didn't seem as scary that the timer's counting down. The only scary part was that Samar and Wrestler were standing right next to it. if they could have gotten clear enough. I just didn't see.
Just go ahead and take the chance of innocent casualties. That's what you're saying?
Potentially.
That's what we want heroes to do now?
Well, they already stopped. They already stopped and killed the drivers. And the minute it was there, they could have just...
Yeah, and by the way, I couldn't tell, were they armed? Or did he just cold blood murder them?
I guess he couldn't tell. I'm trying to play it back because he had the detonator in his hand. So
yeah,
maybe
that's true. He had the detonator. Maybe that's what it was.
You raised the detonator and it looked like a gun, so then you took him out.
Or maybe he's because it's the detonator and he knew that means he was going to trigger the bomb. Never mind. Okay.
More importantly, was his finger on the detonator, and it was one of those you have to keep it down, and the minute you let go, like when you get shot, it'll automatically start
it wasn't
the bomb.
one of those. It wasn't one of those. Or what like boom. And they couldn't have had the cool moment with the Rom making him say sorry. Well, I like that. I definitely did not think that deeply about it. My God, Troy. Take a time out. All right, Cooper has some great moments here. His scene with Liz was great. You get married! That was some energy, and it was fun to see. And we've said it before, and I think everybody seems to agree. Cooper and Liz have good chemistry. It's actually more of, I know we've alluded to, is it a father and daughter with Red and Liz, but every time Cooper and Liz are together, that feels like a real father and daughter to me. Like he feels protective of her, respectful of her, concerned with her, and she sees him, she admires him, she respects him, she looks up to him. What do you think?
Except for the missing scene that we talked about last week.
So that you're worried about. I don't care about that scene. You do.
I care about it because if it's a father-daughter relationship and they have good chemistry for each other, you need to have that conversation that I can't believe you shot Tom Connolly in cold blood. Why did you do that? What were your motives? What was your reasoning? You know, how am I ever going to be able to forgive you for this? Or at least have that conversation with her, because then something like this scene doesn't play off as well. Because then it's like, okay, they're together again, and it just kind of it's almost like her and Tom. Like you're forgetting all about season one and what happened, what Tom put you through in season one to just go back to him and get married again. It's kind of that same mantra here, where Cooper's like, I just forgot about the fact that you shot Connolly in cold blood.
I love the scene. I don't have those reservations. I don't need that scene to make this scene play. The actors did a great job. The scene is written well. His enthusiasm over her getting married, it plays very well. And we find out at the end of the episode that Liz and Red both have nice little talks with Cooper over his marriage gone awry, the fact he's sleeping in the office, he really needs a futon, it's bad for his back. And he's going home. Looks like he's going home. Should he go home?
Man, I don't know. That's a tough one.
I mean, it was with the neighbor. It's like, I'm still of the mindset that if she can't be bothered to have an affair with somebody that lives further than a block away, you can do better. That's my argument.
That's kind of where I'm at, too. I'm like, you have an affair like you're on the road or something, some rando at a hotel, totally different story than the guy across the street.
Well, I don't know if that's any classier, but it's definitely less insulting to the husband, I guess, to a degree. Because at least, you're going somewhere else. My God, you're in the same neighborhood. Like, he sees him if he goes to get the paper, if people still get papers. And, they do barbecues together. And they're constantly around. It's like, man.
They reach for the same apple at the grocery store.
Exactly. The dangerous apple. The foreshadowing. That's what that is.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks like he's going home. I don't know if he's gonna, but I personally think I would rather have a single bachelor swinging. Let's get like a Red wrestler and Cooper bachelor party and a Rom bachelor party episode where they just head into Vegas and have some fun. Tell me that wouldn't be fun. Have like a little road trip episode.
That's so random and so weird in my head at the same time.
I think it would be so good. I think it would be great. And then Dembe could show up and have to clean up whatever idiotic messes they got into. And they could do the same thing. They could have maybe Tom's causing a problem too. And then you could have Samar and Liz run off and have their own little bachelorette party. I think this is a lot of fun. We could do this. Instead of a red wedding, let's have bachelor parties. Yep, that's what Come on, writers, make that happen. You got 4 weeks. You can crank out a new episode real quick. Wrestler, let's see. You can't be mad at me forever. Do you like the fact that they are still not having very happy relationship?
I think it makes the dynamic between the two of them so much more interesting, especially when they're out in the field doing what they need to do, because there was that comment about, you have to work together, but you don't have to like each other. I like them actually at odds with each other. I think it adds a dynamic to their relationship that could end up maybe even see them getting back together at some point. The tension just builds up to that climax.
I don't You really think they could ever get back together?
It's possible.
I mean,
they
they did the whoopee and then he fired her. For her, I don't see her coming back from that.
Yeah, but he had a good reason to fire her. It's not like fire her because she was bad
no
at
argument
or something.
for me. No argument for me. I get that. I really like that he refused to apologize for that. He was ready to blow up over that one.
Yeah, he's just doing his job.
I like that. Okay, so being a bitch comes natural. I thought that was kind of super funny, but probably uncalled for. But she was also kind of being snippy.
It ties in with his character though, because he doesn't think before he speaks. It just lets it roll right off the tongue.
He sure doesn't. And I'll tell you what, whenever he has these moments, I like Rustler just a little bit more. Because I'm just like, man, he really just doesn't care. His level of I don't give a rat's ass is so high. It makes me respect him so much more. Samar, she seems to really be struggling with having to work with him still. They seem to constantly conflict on opinions. Earlier in the episode, she's talking about, isn't it better for the truth to come out? And Rustler's like, don't be so naive. Then they have this banter in the car while they're trying to find the truck and at the bomb. And she seems totally cool with Aram making him apologize. How do you feel about this? Do you think that she's ever going to get over it? I mean, I know you talked about sexual tension, but do you think this actual irritation she has with Rustler, do you think she's ever going to come to the conclusion that he wasn't necessarily wrong with how he handled things?
I would say that Samar, given her character, if she wasn't completely over it, okay with it, she wouldn't have said apology accepted.
Okay. All right. But that's just for calling her a bitch, so I don't know if that's really for everything, is it?
Well, even the way he said, I'm sorry for calling her a bitch, it wasn't really heartfelt. So the fact that it wasn't really heartfelt to begin with, and of course it was for TV time, which you had to do, but it wasn't very heartfelt. And the fact that she said apology accepted means that they've been kind of okay with each other, but yet there's still some deep-seated wounds that need conversation to happen in order they can be really, really healed up again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they need some hug it out time. Definitely. All right. Now we're at the final three. Tom starts the episode acting as though he's goody two-shoes. Turns out he needs Percocet and a gun so he can barter for some peace with Gina, which apparently he can find rather easy. I was a little surprised with that. Do you think this overall was a good plan? We'll talk about the marriage and stuff when we get to Liz. Do you think this portion was a good plan?
To go see Gina again?
Yeah.
No, not really. I think that was Tom, again, doing what Tom does. Tom self-destructs. This was him basically putting himself in a situation where he didn't know, A, if he was going to get out of the situation when he saw Gina, or B, actually get the result that he wanted out of it in the first place. At first, though, I really thought when the guy showed up with the gun and, oh, no, I got to sign. It's okay, Liz, you go to work. I'm going to get the gun. I thought we were right back to season 1 for all of a split second. Like, see, Tom is playing her.
I'm really waiting for the moment where he's Kaiser Soze. And it all comes out that he orchestrated so much of this the whole time. I would love that. That would be a great twist because I want Tom to be bad because he is bad.
It was so great when it finally came out in season 1. You were like, oh, I love Tom so much right now.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, because he was kind of lame when he was all lovey-dovey Tom.
Yeah, when he was all pancakes and hippos and kindergarten teacher. And
yeah, that's when you're like, man, you got to find a bad boy because this guy is boring. Good guys do lose. They do finish last, and they do lose. So basically, he does this. He barters. I love his line, damn it, woman, why does it always have to be like this with you? You've got the topless taunting of Gina. I think she legitimately cares about him. And then he gives her the ultimatum, like, I can end this right now, or you can just forget about me. And she said, I'll try. Do you really believe she'll try?
I think it's still the play, because then we see the phone call right at the end of the episode. It's like, he came just like you said he would. So who was she talking to?
Was it the Major or Red? Who do you think it is?
Could be Katerina. She could be working for Katerina, too.
Could be working for Katerina. So who do you think it is what I'm asking.
Oh, man, I don't know. Could be anybody. I still think that it's all tied to
Dembe.
Red.
It's got to be Dembe.
It's totally Dembe.
Or it's Aram. Maybe he's trying to work something out.
Maybe it's Mr. Kaplan. We haven't seen her in a while.
Actually, Katerina never occurred to me. Honestly, that never occurred to me.
Because if you think about it, she's trying to pull Tom away from the family. Like, hey, family man, You and the family. And so, and then Tom says, like, stay away from me and my family. So it's another dig at the family line. So maybe she's trying to weasel her way in enough that she can keep tabs on Tom, because by finding Tom, you'll find Liz and the baby.
Was Gina ever working for Red? I can't remember.
Red, she always worked. The assumption is that Tom worked for the Major. Red hired Tom through the Major. Gina and Tom both had the same go boxes.
Gotcha.
So if Tom was working with the Major, then Gina had to have been working with the Major. And then he even said in this, like, just tell the Major, I could put a bullet in you, I could put a bullet in the Major, this could be all over. So the go boxes, I'm assuming, were Major related, not Red related. In that case, could Gina be working with Red? Sure. Through the Major? Possibly. Who knows?
All right. Oof. I'm going with Red then. That Red orchestrated the whole thing. But she was relaying to the Major the information, who then would relay it to Red. That's what I'm going with.
Correct.
That's my theory. But really, I'm so lost. It could be anybody. If it was Katerina, that would be kind of a cool twist.
I mean, just leave all those like hanging chads out there that you could just go. Your mind could go forever for the next 4 weeks.
Well, except he did approach her first, so you've got that. I mean, but then again, if she was always under contract with the Major, she just tells him, and then they put the plan in motion or something.
Yeah, if she was working on her own, she could just kill him right there. But clearly, she had orders from somebody to let it play out and see where this goes, and then report back.
Okay, Liz, we don't have any temper tantrums this week, which is good news. But there is lots of baby talk, plans for marriage. They seem very, very happy, her and Tom. What do you think about this? That she accepts his proposal, they're going to keep the baby. We'll talk about her conversation with Red. I just mean with her and Tom. Are you happy, excited, don't really care, indifferent? What?
I always wanted them back together, not for Liz's sake, but more for Tom's sake. Because I wanted to see what Tom would turn into from the Jacob Phelps perspective. Could he get back? Because it's a very similar situation with Red. Could he get back to seeing the light? Could he get back to being the good guy? Could he get out? And he even talks about it in this episode. I just want to walk away from all of this. So could he become Jacob Phelps before the Major? Simple, average guy with a family, with a husband, which is very much what Liz wants. She just wants to forget about all of this and swing, with her husband and her child in the park and, swinging her between their arms and stuff. So everybody's wanting to get back to a point in their life where it was less messy. And I think Liz helps Tom get to a point that's less messy. Unless, of course, he's Kaiser Soze and playing everybody.
Which is really what I'm hoping for. Because I love twists like that. So if he was playing everybody, especially if he's playing Liz yet again and she fell for it, I would kind of say, you had that coming. That's your own fault. You had that coming.
She would be that naive because she keeps falling for it with Red.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want them to get married. I've said that before. I'm not going to drill that home. I'm not. That's the funny part, is that Red makes a statement when she's when Liz is telling her or telling him about it. Man, I just fumbled that whole thing. But when she's talking to Red and she's explaining the story to him, and Red's like, some things are unforgivable. I am of that mindset. I totally agree with Red Reddington. I think some of the things he did, and I know Red was probably speaking more from his perspective, but I'm speaking as someone that likes the character of Liz, and I realize while Tom is self-destructive and he keeps making decisions that are dumb, she is also self-destructive because she continuously makes choices that put her in danger or that would threaten the livelihood of her baby. Like some things she should have walked away from a long time ago. But because she's attracted to certain elements, she stays with it. Tom is one of those things. And I really think that she is unable to break herself away from that toxic relationship. And I know some people are like, no, he's on the mend. He's a good guy. I can't forgive him for all the stuff he did in season 1. I'm sorry, as a person. If this was my daughter or my friend, if Liz was my friend, and Tom was her boyfriend, I wouldn't be okay with her marrying him. So I get totally where Red is coming from. Whether it's from a jealous perspective, whether it's from a protector perspective, whatever his perspective is, I get where he's coming from.
Could he be upset?
Do you?
Well, I wonder if he's more worried about Tom because of not necessarily Tom, but the things that are connected to Tom. Because I kept thinking there's something about that where he's worked for the Major, he's met all these people that he's worked with through the Major before the Liz thing ever came to be, and I'm just wondering if there's something else tied to Tom that's scarier than Tom himself.
What could possibly be scarier than everything he already does? He already does a lot of dumb stuff.
But he was playing a part. He's doing his job.
Really? He was doing a job when he went on a diamond heist and risked all that?
Well, that
was doing his job.
That's different. That's him doing something for himself because he didn't have an employer to work for. But the season 1 thing, he truly cared about her. I mean, that
really?
was
when he was whooping on her,
that was the
choking her and stuff.
But that was the whole thing. He was working for Red, and then realized that he was falling in love for Liz. Red specifically said, "Do not fall in love with her." She falls in love with her. So then Tom switches sides and works for Berlin. So that makes Tom now actually caring for Liz and looking out for Liz to try to get her away from Reddington, which he still is doing in season 3.
Here's the thing. I totally agree with you on that point that he, in his mind, is trying to reform. I'm saying that if I was her friend, if I was a Rom cares about her, right?
Yep.
My perspective, stay the hell away from her because you're dangerous. You are a threat for the rest of her life. You are a threat to her and that baby. I would rather you just died in a fiery car crash. I like the character of Tom. I just don't want them to get married. I think as for the character of Liz, he's a bad move. He might legitimately want to change. He wants to be a good guy, but he makes dumb choices that consistently put them all in danger.
But then if you're Rom, you have to say the same thing about Red. Same exact scenario.
I don't want Liz and Red to get married, so it doesn't seem to be coming up either. So it's okay.
But you have to say the same comment. You have to stay away from him. It's bad for you and the baby. So
I definitely agree, and that goes to my point that she surrounds herself. She allows herself to be part of people's lives that put her in danger. Like if I was her, if I'm Liz, I would find a way to get a whole lot of cash, and I would just disappear. I would disappear. I would find someone, one of these blacklisters that I locked up that's still alive, and find a way for them to tell me how do I disappear, and that's what I would do. Get as far from all of them as possible.
Hire Marvin Gerard and hide in a banana plantation.
There you go. Move to a banana plantation. Well, she meets with Mr. Belov, and he gives her a letter. It explains everything. Now, as soon as he said it explains everything to his daughter, I knew it was totally just for Liz, and I think everybody did, right?
It was like I know I'm being watched. Here's a secret note.
Yep,
go
read
so
it.
The teacher can't see it.
And then we went back to the whole Rose storyline. I'm like, stop. We don't care about Rose. Let's get back to that letter. Crack that open. Let's go. She eventually finds the daughter, and she realizes that she should open it, and she does. And what she finds out, which it isn't what we were hoping, which is explaining everything about their relationship. Instead, it's explaining that Red knew Katerina was alive the whole time. That's some bitch. Is that what you expected? Note to say?
Does Red know that he's? I agree with Red in a lot of what he said. I think he's a little trapped. His facial expressions, the way that Spader acted it, the facial expressions to me say, "Oh, I think I was caught in a lie." But his points that he makes about it could have been planted. I seriously thought she was dead, and I didn't know she showed up back in Portugal. Yeah, all of that is very, very plausible at the same time. So did he really know she was alive? I think he assumes he thinks that she may be alive because of the painting. But did he really lie? Did he really think she did die in 1990?
Isn't omission lying? I mean, if he had any idea at all, wouldn't they be lying?
Well, he said a couple episodes ago, it's like she was... You said my mom died. It's like, well, she disappeared as good as dead. Because nobody's seen her since then. So,
did he know for sure, or did he really? It wasn't certainty until he saw that painting. Maybe is that what your theory is?
Yeah, that's why the file opens up and he's like, "Oh, this is actually worse than I thought it was." And then the painting shows up and he's realizing that stuff's starting to progress much faster than he wanted it to happen. Because now he's realizing that, oh crap, I gotta figure out how my game plan fits in with this new adversary. Because this adversary was supposed to be gone and dead.
Well, I mean, he got the file, which we assume has something to do with Katerina, and then he finds the painting, and he still didn't tell Liz. So, my opinion, you are lying by omission, so she's not wrong. She's not wrong. He was certain, and he should have told her. But, like people on TV, they never tell people the things they need to tell people. The only problem I had was at the very end of the episode, she pulls Liz, and says some things are unforgivable. That line, if you would have taken that line out, that whole confrontation would have worked great for me. That line felt like whining, and it's another one of those, well, now we're mad at each other, but we'll be fine again next episode kind of things. You know what I mean?
If they're fine again next episode. Because next episode, according to the trailer, is that I'm going to defy you and go do exactly what you told me not to do, which is get married to Tom.
Yeah, that's marketing, though. That's marketing.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I think that's just it's just a ploy. I mean, just like the search for Rostova. I don't recall looking for really any Rostova here. Did it happen? Was there a search for Rostova that I missed? I don't recall
just the envelope in the picture. That'd be about as far as it went.
It was an easy search because he kind of just said, I got an envelope. There's a picture inside. Pink.
Are you glad that they went back to Belov and kind of tied up that loose end?
Yes, actually, I was really good. And it was really nice. I liked the moment. And I liked when she confronted the daughter and finally realized that the letter was for her. Because, I mean, watching the show, of course we think that, but I can totally understand why the character would never think that. She has no reason to believe that letter's for her. So I'm glad that they threw that scene in, because if she just opened it, I'd be like, man, you're just opening somebody's mail? That's not cool.
I was wondering what during that whole scene, too, is he's like, I had a daughter, too, and I can't find her. I was wondering if they were actually going to be father and daughter for a minute.
Oh, stop it. Don't add more theories. We get plenty. We don't need any more, man. We're good.
I want to point out here that I think this might be the first time that Red specifically tacks a date on Katerina disappearing into the ocean. He specifically said 1990, which, if you remember, 1990 is the year that Red Reddington went off the grid before he resurfaced in 1994.
Oh, look at you, Snap, bringing the knowledge.
So
good for you.
That still works into my theory. Just saying.
Okay. We're not going to talk about your theory. Go listen to past episodes if you want to hear that ridiculousness. Red did meet Hugo. We met Hugo. We talked about Hugo. And also Sammy. I mean, how many contacts does Red actually have? I mean, he's making a lot of people happy over the course of the planet.
I just love the fact that he's got like these chop shop guys. He knows the entire like hotel industry, and it's all these like random people. What was her name? Dara. Belov's caretaker was also in Red's payroll. It's like he's got a lot of friends.
He's got a lot of money because I mean he's dropping money like notes. GTOs ain't cheap. Well, I just like that we've got a Dom Toretto in the pocket. That's pretty cool to me.
Well, he did get those titanium plates from General Lud, so he can just print it whenever he wants.
That's true. He's just in the back making some. Dembe, give me a few more million. Let's go.
Yeah, don't you remember he's got that lady that lives in the suburbs that washes money in her basement?
That's true. He did help thwart the attack. Boy, did I tell you so, was his line. And he also said, I poked my finger in many pies, which kind of goes to what we just talked about. I like that line.
Which means he's cheating on his pecans.
Well, he likes more than just pecans. He likes to spread his love. Now, the moment, the little jealousy moment, we got to talk about that. And I want to be fair to shippers and people that think parental figure. Okay, so you've got this moment where Liz tells Red that she's going to do it. She's going to keep the baby. And we alluded to it. And her and Tom are going to get married. And there is some obvious upsetness. I always like to use that word, even though it's not really a word. Some distraught, emotional reaction from Red. And I think and this is one of those things where, we've talked about it before. I personally believe it's a parental figure. It's some kind of authority figure in her life. He looks to Liz as a daughter figure. That's what my personal opinion is, and I think it's yours too.
It is, but I love how the scene is written so that you could still cater to both camps.
Right, and that's what I want to point out. So every time people say, no, the show never has those moments where it seems like Red could actually care for Liz in a romantic way, I would point to this one particular scene and say, this is kind of where some of those people are coming from. Because I can take that, take out your predetermined feelings on what the relationship is, and you can take it both ways.
Yeah, because he's standing there and he's like, "Oh, that's so great! You're keeping them a bit." What do you mean we? Mm-hmm. It was delivered so perfectly. That's probably the best scene of the night, besides the bomb scene. But he was just kind of like, oh, you threw that we in there, almost like I threw in that joke at you last week. And oh wait, you said we. What do you mean we?
Yep, he was taken aback, and the reaction could be taken either way. So I get where people are coming from. Now I don't know if they're doing that intentional or we're just reading too much into it. Whatever the case is, I can see where both camps come from and why. So whenever somebody says it's definitive, I would caution that. I mean, I think it's definitive for me because I see it a certain way, but I can see where other people would come from a different theory.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we get to the end where Liz confronts him, and he definitely tries to avoid the truth because he does know now for sure. And he's trying to point her in different directions. Do you still think that he never lies to her?
I guess it depends on your definition of lie. You say lie with omission is lying.
Okay. Yes. There's no definition of lying. Not telling the truth or omitting the truth is lying. Do you think he lies to her?
I don't agree that holding back information is lying. If I tell you misinformation because I'm holding back information, that's lying. But holding back information is not lying, in my opinion.
What is it? It's being a good, honest citizen?
No, it's being I'm being calculated. I have a communication plan. I have a change management strategy. I have all of this stuff that it needs to be coming out at the right time and at the right moment because you're not ready to hear it yet.
You make it sound like Red has a mission statement.
He could. He absolutely. He's been working on this for like 20-some years.
He doesn't want to play his hand too quick.
Right, exactly. She's emotionally unstable. We've all said that over the last couple of weeks. She's being written emotionally unstable, some people have said. And if she's in this state of Tom and the baby and blah, blah, she's not ready to handle this that's going to come in her life, right?
This truth bomb?
This truth bomb. And that's why he's like, I don't even know if I want her to know now, and burns the information at the end of the episode. So I truly think that he's not lying. He's truly trying to figure out the best way to tell her so that, one, it would save their relationship, whatever that relationship is, and two, that she's not completely ruined by it because he's done so much effort protecting her from that truth.
I wonder. Do you think he's not telling her out of protection? Like he's doing it because if he tells her, it will lead her to destructive ways? Because, she does make some destructive choices as a person.
Yes, she does, absolutely. And I think that's what he's trying to shelter her in a way that she'll be the innocent child that she was before she pulled the trigger and killed whoever she killed.
That's interesting.
I didn't want you to grow up to be like me from that end of season 2.
Right. So do you think that some things are unforgivable? Like what he did here by not just coming right out and saying, I've confirmed it. There's a painting. She's alive. I'm worried she's coming for you. Whatever he's actually worried about, by not telling her, do you think it's unforgivable from Liz's perspective? Well, do you think that line actually carries some weight?
Liz's perspective, I think, is more from, you told me she was dead, and now this is proof that she's alive. You lied to me, blah, blah, blah. It's still whiny Liz at this point, which is why you don't like the line at the end.
Yeah, like seriously, I actually like the confrontation. I think it needed to happen. It was played well. I think Megan did a great job with the scene. It's just a matter of that one line comes across as whiny. Maybe I'm taking it the wrong way, but it really just came across kind of whiny, and it really killed the moment, I guess, for to a degree.
But you knew that line was coming, though, because it was set up so long ago in the episode.
It was, but I was hoping it wouldn't happen. I was hoping it wouldn't happen, and it did. But I still love the episode. I just don't like the yay, we're getting married, and then some things are unforgivable. But then again, you also have, seriously, when I go back to last week.
You're more upset about the line, I think, because we know next week she's going to do the 180. She's going to pull the Liz and go right back. That's why. It's not that the line was used. It was the fact that the line doesn't mean anything because next week she's just going to be like, whatever.
Right. She'll forgive him next week. That's why it doesn't hold as much weight for me. But I do go back to what I said last week, which is, and I'm referencing my daughter just because I have a close relationship with my daughter. If she found out that I lied to her about something, she would say the same thing to me. It doesn't mean that she's actually not going to forgive me. And I think some people hold on to that like, well, because next week she's going to, just like me, I'm guilty of it. I know that she's going to forgive him next week, just like I know my daughter will forgive me, in a day or two. So I think sometimes people just do say those things. So yeah, I could have done without it because I'm watching television and for some reason I expect it to be better than me. But in real life, it would probably play out the same way.
But if some things are unforgivable, those things are big things. And it's not a 2-day later, I forgive you, I was wrong, I'm sorry. Let's just be friends again. It's not a 2-day thing. It's like months.
Yeah, people throw tantrums, and she throws a couple tantrums, so she just
but there's
throws it out there. She tries to hurt him. She tries to hurt him because she cares about him.
There's nothing that you've done to your daughter that is unforgivable.
I don't know. I'm sure there is. I'm not going to tell her about it. Shh.
But I mean,
because I'm not lying, apparently, by omitting. So it's all good.
Yelling at her for not doing dishes and stuff of that nature. It's not like, oh, that's just so unforgivable. That's just mood at that point, right? I mean,
yeah.
The thing that Liz is dealing with is truly unforgivable if it's the chance that her mother might be out there. And I think that if they come back for the break, and if they do the flip flop and she goes right back to Red again, I think you miss an opportunity. I think they have to have her be at odds with Red for at least the next 3 to 6 episodes to make that stick.
I agree with you, actually. That would be I would consider that a twist to a degree, just because of how it's been the last few episodes.
Right.
Because we've kind of almost regressed back into that a little bit, where it's, I'm mad at you, we're good, I'm mad at you, we're good, I'm mad at you, we're good. And if this one holds, which I honestly think it should, because unlike you, I think it's a horrible thing he did by not telling her. Although I do think it'd be hard to broach the topic, you still should have said something.
I mean, there's just so much of the universe will tell her if she's supposed to know, she's going to find out. Mm-hmm. And then, hey, I have this marker, this beacon that's giving me hope. And now I'm really pissed off because you didn't give me all of the information. And now she's going to marry the one guy that he doesn't want her to get married with. I think this is the start of what might be in the painting, which is Reddington's undoing at the hand of Liz.
Well, I don't think that'll happen for a long time, because that would kill the show.
I didn't say dead. Dead was just like a figurative thing. Like she's
undoing like his entire operation.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Her and Tom maybe start picking it apart, or maybe she sides with Mommy, and then her and Mommy for season 4 are working against Reddington for all of season 4.
Wouldn't it be a cool twist if Red lost his power?
I think it'd be a really interesting story to unravel, and then the Blacklisters are people that he needs to find that need to help him get him back into power for an entire season.
That would be good. I could actually see that coming. I could see that coming. That's a good.
I'm telling
Look at you. You finally came back to something that made sense. I like it.
I'm telling you, the end of season 3 is going to be huge. Huge.
Like Donald Trump. Huge. This is huge.
No, bigger.
Like that huge?
Bigger than Donald Trump. Huge.
Oh, that's pretty big. That's a big wall you're talking.
I know.
All right. Well, do you think he'll get the ashtray? You think Red will get the ashtray?
Oh, that was awesome.
Just curious. Well, at the end, like you talked about, he digs up and finds his secret, this letter that explains everything, and then he burns it. How do you feel about that moment?
It was great, because I mentioned at the top of the show that this is the second time he's done that. And when I say the second time, if you're assuming that the comic books are canon, in the first Blacklister comic book, The Gambler, there was a scene where him and Kaplan were talking about, what should happen to me if I'm dead? If I'm dead, make sure that Liz gets this videotape. And towards the end of The Gambler, they burn the videotape. So this is the second. He's got a backup to the backup plan, because The Gambler took place right after the death of Fitch in the Decemberist. Mm-hmm. So because of that, I think this is interesting that he now has a second opportunity. Or is it really not canon and they're just borrowing ideas between Nicole and John in this situation? I don't know. I'm assuming it's canon from the comic book, from what Nicole told us on the interview. Mm-hmm. So I really think it's interesting that he's so conflicted by this information that he has multiple components in play to tell her the truth. And every time he gets closer to telling her the truth, he destroys one of those components.
I think it's because he can't decide which way it'll go. Will this destroy us forever, or will this bring us closer? He doesn't know. And he's really unsure. And honestly, she's hormonal, she's unstable, and she makes bad decisions sometimes. I would, it's a volatile situation. I get where he's coming from, man.
But
I get where he's coming from.
Do you get rid of it? I mean, you spent all that time putting all of this effort into hiding this.
Well, he has to get rid of that, because those secrets are going to come out.
We could put it somewhere else. Give it to somebody else.
He could have given it to Dembe, but Dembe probably just handed it over to her.
Could have fed it to Brimley's alpaca or whatever.
Yeah, he could have. I liked how quickly Cooper gave him that ledger, by the way. He's like, here, I don't even care. Just do what you got to do, man. Don't go anywhere, because remember to download the Blacklist Exposed app for iOS and Android, or be sure to go even deeper into the mystery of Red Reddington by visiting our partner Blacklist site, theblacklistnbc.com, where the interrogation room features a new interview with Lady Ambrosia herself, Celia Weston, as well as the writer of that episode, Taylor Martin. We like Taylor. Taylor's a great lady.
Yes, absolutely. Also, a quick note to leave a review in iTunes. It really does help out the show. You can do that at goldenspiralmedia.com/iTunes and click on the album art for the podcast. We got this note in from Jeremy in Australia. Just had to take some time out of my schedule to let you guys know how much I'm enjoying your podcast. Woo-hoo. I love how your friendship has evolved in the show, and I absolutely love how much Aaron bags Troy.
I'm going to do it more.
He says, please get ruder. I don't know if that means he wants you to bag me more or if I got to get more gruff with you, I suppose.
I believe he's talking about me being harder on you because he knows your theories are ridiculous. That's why.
And apparently I'm very nitpicky this week. You have such a
You hit. To be fair, I said that, and I know some people are like, stop picking on Troy. He just had some legitimate complaints. And he does have some legitimate complaints. Doesn't mean I can't bag on Troy.
That's right.
So.
You have such a great take on the show, and you talk about the things which we want to hear. So damn professional, but in an ultra-accessible kind of way. I honestly look forward to your podcast as much as I do the show. Please keep doing it. Thanks.
Wow, that's actually very cool. Thank you for saying that. I am giving you a bow right now. Specifically for saying it's cool that I bag on Troy. and I would say that. We've actually, over the course of doing this, we were friends before, but we've probably become better friends because of it. It doesn't mean I like him, but we're better friends. So there you go. We'll be right back with this week's Red's Rhetoric right after this.
You go through there, it's 1960.
Stephen King's time travel thriller, 11/22/63, is coming to Hulu. And Golden Spiral Media will journey down the rabbit hole with 11/22/63, a look back. Join Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinrichs as they journey through the obdurate past. Life turns on a dime. So join us at 11/22/63podcast.com.
It's now time for Red's Rhetoric, where last week we had a race on our hands, but since the dad theory still lingers out there, hashtag Red Pops won by the slightest of margins. This week our first clip comes when Red pays a visit to his local mechanic.
Samo!
Hey! How you doing, Sole?
You still got that sweet GTO?
Sadly, no. I gave it to a North Korean general in exchange for a young woman's freedom.
I know a lot of women. I'd have capped the goat.
As I recall, you've always carried a torch for Oldsmobiles. I have a line on a low-mileage, pristine 1974 4.2 with a factory W30 package. I can put you in touch in exchange for a small favor. You interested?
What do you think?
Our second clip comes when Red comes to collect on Harold's chit.
I'm curious, Harold. How do you think the White House is going to express their appreciation to me for foiling the terrorist plot? Maybe an embossed ashtray. Or one of those little American flag pins for my lapel.
I think the best you can hope for is tolerance.
I'm here to call in your chit.
Excuse me?
Nobody uses the word chit anymore, do they? Rhyming with the vulgarity didn't do it any favors. A chit is...
It's a note for a debt incurred. All those lives at risk. And you only helped in order to force it down my throat. What do you want?
The Caretaker's Ledger. I'd like to borrow it.
If it were up to me, I'd burn it. I've learned the hard way that some secrets are best kept in the dark.
Mine certainly is. If you insist on sleeping in the office, I'd suggest you forego the floor and get yourself a futon. Your chiropractor will thank you.
How did you know?
Harold, forgive Charlene. A friend told me recently that forgiveness won't change the past, but could very well change the future. Apparently, nothing is unforgivable. Go home, Harold.
Which was your favorite this week? Make sure you sound off in our Twitter polls or in the Facebook group. If you have a sweet line on a car of your dreams, vote hashtag RedGTO. Or if you have done a service to your country and are looking for an award, vote hashtag RedPin.
Special Agent Intel. We've got some more stuff for you guys. Anna dropped a quick note. Hey, Troy and Aaron. Well, she says hi, but I'm going with hey because I like hey.
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 Ever remember that episode from
Yeah, I do.
Bratwurst and Wine in the Woods? Hi.
I love your show, especially the way you say that's so funny. It always makes me smile for some reason. Well, hang on. That's so funny. Go ahead, Troy. You give it a shot.
That's so funny.
I love the mom theory, Troy. All right, well, I just stopped wanting to read you. I don't think it should be dismissed. That's not so funny, Anna. It's really not. Also, you are a bit unfair to Tom. Please be a little nicer to the poor guy. He has lots of story left to tell. And plus, if anything, the Red and Liz relationship, I feel, is more unhealthy than Tom and Liz.
After this week, I think I could agree with that, maybe.
It's definitely, I mean, they're definitely button heads. Here, you know, I feel like I'm never really clear on this because I feel like people still say, I don't like Tom. I absolutely like Tom. I think Ryan Eggold is great in the role of Tom. When Tom is a badass or a Nazi, I love Tom.
Maybe not a Nazi.
No, it was kind of cool. It was fun to watch it. I mean, it was a cool story element because you wouldn't expect that, and it's really putting a character you like or are leery of, I mean, into a situation that is really negative, and he still came out on top. I don't want them to be together. I don't think Liz and Tom should be together. That's what I don't like. I like the character of Tom. I can't say it much clearer.
They could be partners like Wrestler and Smar on the run, doing that kind of fun stuff, but
if
they
were
cannot be
just
in a
friends,
relationship.
friends raising the kid, okay, fine. But married and all that happy-go-lucky, it's just some things are unforgivable for me personally, so I just couldn't get past it if I was her. That's all.
Agree. Lori wrote in for the first time. She poses that I think Red set Rostova House on fire and then went to rescue Liz, and I think he is her grandfather for what it's worth.
Wow. Grandfather?
Trifecta. Daddy, granddaddy, lover.
Hang on. So she thinks Red is her grandfather?
Possible, I guess.
He's not. I mean, look, I had kids really early, and I'm trying to do the math, but I don't think mathematically that would be possible. Unless he was a pimp. I mean, he had to be a serious pimp, like Shaft-style pimp. All right. Well, no. I mean, hey, every theory's on the table. I don't think, Lori, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to your theory. I just don't see it personally as possible. But, I mean, a lot of things are possible. I don't see that one as possible. But maybe mathematically it works out. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to have a calculator and a syllabus and a couple other things figure it out.
Yeah, it could be possible. Here's how.
Oh, God. Is there a time machine involved?
So, there's not a time machine involved.
Seriously, if there's like a blue phone booth, I'm leaving. I'm done.
If anybody out there watches a show on FX called The Americans, which deals with Russian infiltrating the U.S. as spies in the 1980s, it could be, they talk a lot about how they brainwash these spies in that show, and it's a lot of sexual-related issues that they put into their heads to force them to do these things for their country. So it could be possible that he's a grandfather because maybe he was captured in Russia at one point in time, and maybe this sexual thing that they do over in Russia, in this case of The Americans, I'm just combining the two stories together, maybe there was something that happened there, and then Red Sperm accidentally got one of these people pregnant while he was in captivity, and that's how it all plays into the grandfather theory. So it is plausible. Stretch, but plausible.
Okay. All right. Tessa said, this is a really fun episode. Love the Blacklister. Oh, Tessa, we're together. Wish they had more time with him on screen. Reggie Cathy did a phenomenal job as usual. His voice is like butter.
Gold.
That's me saying that.
Gold.
Yeah. The story with his daughter was very moving. The wrong that is right kind of story. To me, a careful misdirection to make us think that parallels the story of Red and Liz.
Ah, she's with me.
Yeah, well, don't hold that against her. That scene in the cemetery with Red and Dembe was very powerful. I got the feeling that Dembe was very pained at seeing Red that troubled, and that Red is scrambling to maintain control of the situation. We got some nice tidbits canon-wise. The fire was in 1989. I thought you said 1990.
She disappeared into the ocean in 1990.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember the fire being called out specifically on a year.
She says it did, so we're going to take her at her word.
Okay.
It has been almost a year since Liz went to see Vilov, but the theory some had the baby was wrestlers from an off-screen affair is off. And Red had that envelope for Liz, but the moment passed for her to know. Why did that moment pass? That is the question to decipher. By the way, I enjoyed the last podcast. It was so much fun.
Thanks so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Oof, I am out of breath.
Dondi. Yeah, Dondi's back. Aram, number 1. Aram for the win. No apologies needed, other than from Wrestler, of course. A definite winner of a moment. Number 2, Liz and Tom. Oh, my God, please make it stop. If it has to happen, let that occur off camera. If not for me, then do it for the children.
Do it for the children.
We are the world. I kind of like the Gina Tom B story, and for what it's worth, I'm not sure that Gina was talking to the Major, but very possibly Reddington himself.
Mm-hmm.
The Caretaker villain, number 4. The Caretaker villain was pretty obvious, although the motive behind her exposing the secrets was not. I hope that they follow up and show what happens with the rest of those secrets. Number 5, again, this was not a major number this week. Correspondingly, less time was devoted to it in general. I like the way of scripting it as 1, makes episode not all the same rhythm. 2, makes space for character development in B stories. However, this can be overdone, and I think we are getting to the point where we need something bigger, hence the break. I put that in there. Number 6, wonder if Red may be training Tom to forego his life of crime, though pain aversion therapy. That is after enough failures and victories orchestrated by Red, Tom gives up on spending any more of his life on the wild side. Finally, next week's question, I want it answered now. What was in the red envelope? No pun intended.
We didn't have that
totally
as our...
intended that pun.
What's that?
I think she totally intended that pun.
Yeah, I totally intended that pun. The reason that's not our profiling question of the week is because I think we all know what's in it. The explanation that we're never going to get.
Exactly.
Yeah. Crystal said, April, that sucks. It does suck. I didn't realize it was going to be that long, man. I mean, it's cool that they're taking some time off, getting that story ready. We're going to come back full, all cylinders go, but I didn't realize it was going to be that long.
Yeah, less enough time for the pharmacy guy to drop off Aaron some oxygen tanks so he can get his breath again. You know,
I'm telling you, man.
One with a gun that
I
come along
gotta
the
get running
side of
again. I am so lazy. I haven't been running, so I got no tolerance. Can't speak at long lengths, and I should be able to. I mean, and you don't want Troy talking, so I mean, I gotta keep it going.
Plus, he's got to get a new Glock on that too.
Aram was great. Love the apology line in Navabi. Made me crack up. I can't tell if Gina is reporting to the Major or Red yet. I like the evidence in the corpse. Apparently, the casket wasn't secure enough. I wish you would have let me read that Red letter before he burnt it. Well, us too.
Absolutely.
It would have been nice if Dembe just like snatched it and been like, "Dear Liz," and just started reading it to the camera. I think that would have been fantastic.
Someone will have to call me out on this or agree with me, depending on how you explain this. But I thought
it's probably not going to happen.
I thought that red envelope looked very similar to the one that he got from Wu Jing that had the Megan Boone's birth date in it for the code. I wonder that the seal looked exactly the same to me. So I don't know if someone's got screen captures of those that they could compare the two. That'd be very interesting to take a look at over the next 4 weeks because I thought it was very much the same kind of envelope.
Honestly, I don't know the answer to that. That's pretty cool. So maybe somebody can write in. We got plenty of time. Go do some screen captures, some screenshots, and let Troy know because he cares.
Post them in the group, the Blacklist GSM on Facebook.
There you go. Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. This episode, this is from Nate. I'm sorry. Boy, oh boy. This episode was a trip and a half. The Blacklister at its best. Or not the Blacklister. The Blacklist at its best. I need to go to bed, Troy.
I hear you there.
I had to watch this episode twice in a row to catch everything. This episode was Cloak and Dagger at its best. I don't remember Dabney Coleman. Dembe may not be getting many lines, but he sure makes them count. Has Red been lying to Liz? Apparently, Nate understands that omission is lying. When will Red call his chit on the White House?
Chit's just not used as often as much anymore.
It's not, and because it's really so close to another word that it's easily misunderstood.
That's such a great line.
What role does Germany have in the upcoming war? Was Gina talking to the Major or Red over the phone? Is Tom sincere or is Jacob playing a game? I can't wait for the answers. Bravo to the writer of this episode. The universe is aligning to give Liz the truth. I can't wait to see the showdown between I can't wait to see the showdown between Red and Rostova.
And Liz. It's a trifecta.
Yeah, and Liz. Liz is probably in there somewhere. Yep.
Absolutely. Gallia couldn't care less about this episode, really. All the crap with Lizzie's and apparently Cooper's amnesia are just killing it for me. # kill Tom. Liz is... Oh, my goodness.
That's not me.
Oh, that's so funny. Liz is just pissing me off these days. Hate how they're writing her. Megan is great and looking fabulous, of course. Smiley face. Aren't they lucky they have James? I would have quit watching a long time ago if not for him.
Ouch.
I honestly think Gally's just upset because we didn't actually talk about anything Russian this week.
We didn't mess up anything Russian this week.
That's right.
Because apparently every time we mention Russia, we offend somebody in the country. Whoops. What are you going to do? And Megan does look great. Man, she's glowing.
Absolutely.
She's really glowing. Todd said, hey, so I was just thinking how weird would it be if Tom's ex, Gina, is actually working with Keen's mother, Rostova. Oh, look at that. If that's who she was on the phone with at the end. And Aaron. Troy, you really need to slap me in the head because I am having a hard time reading today. And here's something else. What if it turns out the reason Red is so against Liz and Tom is because he knows secretly Tom is Liz's secret brother? I think we made that comment once. I don't know, but yeah, man.
It's out there. It's a little weird if it is, but it's out there.
That's some Chinatown stuff. No, man, see, okay, maybe not that last one, but I don't know, right? Here's my thinking, Todd. I think a lot of people would be creeped out by that. I would probably love it because I'm a twisted individual and I love Chinatown. So, yeah.
And it's twisted enough, and the Blacklist could get away with it.
Absolutely. And man, Game of Thrones does it. You could make it work. Go ahead,
totally make
give
it
a
work.
shot.
Oh, wow. Contrasting opinion then. Linda said just because no arc is actually arcing. How do you spell that? Arcing? What if Gina was on the phone with Liz? I can only hope all of this love and family is annoying. Really like the White House counsel lady back. She's going to be fun. Preview for next episode, maybe till death do they part. References Liz and Red, not Liz and Tom. Or maybe the whole lot of them. What do you think of that? Gina and Liz working together to backstab
I like
Tom.
that a lot. I really like that. I think that's a really cool theory. I would love that, actually. Like she was calling and saying, okay.
Yeah, he showed up.
Your man's on the up and up, that sort of thing. He showed up and he I showed him my tatas and he wasn't interested, so he moved on. You're good to go.
That's why women are so entrapment, I tell you.
He didn't bite.
He didn't bite. So there you go.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy. Tom wants to be reformed.
I don't know. I mean, if I was in the chair, I'd be like, you know what? It's not the worst thing I've ever done.
That's right. To make it easy or hard.
Mona said, the last batch of season 3 is coming. What do we want to see happen? Here are my 4 predictions. 1, we will see Katerina Rostova. Personally, I think that will be the very last scene. I think it'll be one of those where the door opens and you actually don't see the actor playing that role. You agree, disagree? What do you think?
That'd be too alias, but yes, I agree.
Well, I agree it'd be alias, but I think it's a lot of shows do that, like, because they don't. If you cast the actor now, maybe they won't be available in the fall, kind of thing.
Exactly right.
That's why they do that. Number 2, we learn more about Liz and Red's relationship, at least some significant info.
I think that's more. We're playing up to the Katerina reveal, I do believe, but I think there's some significant. I think that it has to come out. It has to come out by the end of the season. I think people will just lose their minds in the fandom if they don't get an answer by the end of the season, which is why I think the end of the season is so huge.
I think the audience might know some more. I don't know if Liz will know some more.
Correct. Yes, Be clear.
Yeah. 3, she has the baby. That's not a prediction. It's a fact. Well, I mean, she can hold it forever, I guess. I don't know.
Well, she was due in April, right? From what I remember from the talk show circuit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's coming. It's coming soon. It might be coming over the break. Poor thing.
Hence why the break is where it was.
Well, I think the break was always there, honestly. But number 4, the war will begin. The war will begin. Do you think the war is going to begin already?
We're getting close to 2017, so it's got to start sometime.
Well, I guess the finale could be the trigger to it, right?
It very well could be.
Put things in motion, that sort of thing. The arrival of Katerina will coincide with Red having a family tree conversation with Liz that will be critical for her to know as the war begins. What I would like to see as a member of this, of course, he's her dad/stepdad camp is a profound grandpa moment when Lizzie Jr. enters the world. By the way, is there a baby gender pool going? It would be a fun reveal that Red is in fact Liz's father.
Oh, so Mona's in he's her dad camp.
Yeah, okay.
And so he wants to she wants the reveal to be, oh, look at this, my grandson. Oops, I just said that out loud.
That might be a little too easy.
It'd be a little cheesy, but it'd be kind of funny at the same time.
We don't have that. What is the vote? What is the baby? What do you think the baby's going to be, boy or girl?
I thought she talked about I want my daughter swinging between my arms, and because it's always been about a daughter, so female is the obvious choice, but we'll put the over-under 70-30.
Sure, yeah. I'm on board a daughter. I think it'll definitely be a daughter. You got Katerina, you got Liz, and you got her daughter, yeah. Plus, I think when it's a daughter, for whatever reason, for television, you feel more threatened when that child is in danger.
Yep. Look at Dembe, right? Dembe and his daughter, and then her daughter, and
there's a lot of daughters in the show, so it makes sense that it would be a daughter. Yep, that's what I expect.
Yep.
Oof. All right, now before we close it out, and we are going to be closing the show out, I do want to say that we are going to be on a break, and I want to reiterate that there is going to be a bonus episode somewhere in the middle, I would say probably. So in between that break, you're going to get another episode. So if you haven't subscribed, if you happen to just pull this up, I would do that. Throw yourself in the podcast app. Throw us in the podcast app. So that way, when the episode comes.
Or download our podcast app in the iTunes App Store or Google Play.
Yeah, either one. But I want to say thanks, Troy. So far, it's been a great year. I think we're having a lot of fun. And I do want to reiterate that sometimes we pick things apart. We go into stuff that some people like, don't like, whatever. I think we try to be as fair as we can and respectful as we can. But, there are issues with the show and with any show, and you talk about those, what's good and what's bad. And I still think this season has been great. I think we are in the home stretch, like the final third is coming up. And I guess I want to get your thoughts real quick as we part. What do you think of the first 2/3 of the season?
Strong. Almost season 1 strong. I know that middle half of season 2 was a little bit rough for a lot of us. It played out well in that last portion of season 2, which was great. I think this has been pretty solid all the way through. I think even some of the slower episodes in the last couple of weeks have been setting groundwork for something that's bigger coming. So I really, really think that this next 6 is going to be something pretty spectacular.
Same here. I've really loved it. I think some people got a little bummed because we had the nonstop, on the run, on the lam, so to speak, stuff of the early episodes, the front half of the season. And then we kind of got back into the season 1 vibe of procedural, by the numbers, Blacklist. And, Liz has been going through a lot, and some people have had issue with how that's written. And I just want to say once again, we said that last year, and it played out great. I have total faith in the show. I love the show, and I think we're coming to a rousing conclusion. I'm really excited for the back half, or the back third.
I'm really excited to see actually what happens with the baby. Because are they going to have the baby? Is the baby going to get kidnapped? Is the baby going to miss? We've all been talking about, I can't believe they wrote the baby into the show. I'm actually really excited to see how they pull this off and what they do with it.
That's the one thing I've always said can ruin a show, right?
That's why I'm excited to see what they do with it and pull it off.
No. I'm saying it, but I also said because I love the show, I will see how it plays out. I will be very honest with you at the end of the season how I think it plays out, but I am holding my judgment until it plays out. And I think we all should do that because this show tries to do like a season-long arc. It tries to mix procedural and serialized, and we won't really get to see how it all plays out until the end. So let's just hang tight and let's see how it rolls out. Well, that's going to conclude this episode. Be sure to follow us on Twitter this season at The Blacklist GSM, where we live tweet during the East Coast feed, and we use the show's hashtag, The Blacklist. We also have a Facebook group. Just search for The Blacklist Exposed and join us for the fun.
Intel from you is what we want. We have a few ways you can submit intel here into the agency. You can interact with us on Tumblr, Instagram, or visit theblacklistexposed.com. Call us or leave us a message. You can use your smartphone, and we have a send voicemail button right there that you can record it right on the go.
You can also subscribe to the podcast in iTunes. Please leave us a review. It really does help the show. Or listen from the website if you are really on the go. Make sure you download our app for iOS or Android, powered by Spreaker, like he already said. You will also find all the intel and analysis about this episode for The Caretaker by visiting theblacklistexposed.com. Big thanks for listening. Please don't forget to answer our profiling question of the week. You got plenty of time to think about it. Will Liz and Tom actually get married?
It's a red wedding.
I still love that. I love it.
Oh, guys, all right, have a good break.
Take care, guys.
We'll see you later. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of
The Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.